Okay, so we're going to do a sequence of poses that help to ease head, neck and shoulder tension. So even though it's still quite warm, we're having a nice long spell of warm weather, which I don't think I remember since I was a kid actually, so that's quite nice. But even though it's warm, you can give yourself a bit of extra cushioning with a towel or a blanket over the top of your mat. And then we'll just start off with our basic relaxation pose. So just get the bolster underneath your knees. You've got the blanket for your head and your neck, and a couple of blocks for underneath your feet. And then just guide yourself down along the floor. If you're wearing glasses, it's nice to just take them off just for that first couple of moments, just to give yourself just a nice surface to release into. So just spend a little time just getting yourself comfortable, because comfort is paramount. Comfort is really, really important for this method of yoga. So make sure that the feet feel supported by the blocks, the bolster underneath the knees. This gives a little elongation of the spine. Just observe how the spine can gently release into the floor, is supported by the straight line of the floor. And just pull the blanket into the shoulders so that the back of your neck and your head are supported by the blanket. Close your eyes or cover your eyes, even better. If you've got something to cover your eyes to create some darkness. Give yourself permission to relax. Give yourself permission to let go of the tensions that have followed you around during your day. Just giving yourself permission to be here. Just dedicating this next 40 or so minutes to replenishing your energy, to grounding yourself, and to restoring your physical body so that you can spend your evening feeling free of the day's tensions and stresses. And you should be able to sleep well. So observe where the floor, that the body makes contact with the floor. From the arms and the shoulders and the neck and the head, the spine and the skin and the rib cage, and the hips and the pelvis, how they're supported by the straight line of the floor. Observe how the bolster underneath your knees, softness to the spine, but a feeling of light elongation of the spine. Spend a little time just observing your breath. Feel your lungs as though you're filling a jug with water. So when you fill a jug with water, it fills from the bottom to the top. And when you empty a jug of water, you empty from the top down to the bottom. So as you inhale, inhale as though you are breathing from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs, like you're filling a jug. As you exhale, exhale as though you were emptying the jug from the top to the bottom. Take deep, indulgent breaths, because your breath brings in the energy that helps us to focus and get things done. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Observe that the in-breath and the out-breath sound subtly different. Listen to the sound of the breath. Observe the rise and fall of the chest. Observe that as you inhale, your chest rises upwards and outwards. And as you exhale, your chest lowers. As you inhale, you commune with the cosmic energy that surrounds you, drawing in energy from the universe. In yogic terms, we refer to that cosmic energy as prana. In scientific language, we might just call it oxygen. So inhale deeply from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs. Filling the lungs and allowing the blood that surrounds the lungs to ingest the oxygen or the prana, and then that blood is pumped from the heart around to every living cell of the body. Observe tension in the jaw and in the tongue and in the throat. Feel that as you inhale, you bring in energy. As you exhale negative energy. As you inhale, draw in positive energy. As you exhale, release negative energy. As you inhale, feel that you allow the jug to overflow out into the limbs, into the head. To inhale to the point of overflow without any strain, so that your breath enters the arms and the legs and the torso and the head. And when you're ready to disturb yourself, just gently wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers. Just bend your knees, bring your feet onto your lift, onto your bolster, and then just roll onto your side, and then sit yourself up. And then I'll show you what we're going to do. So we're going to do a simple supported back bending pose. So get your blanket and fold it out so it's a kind of slightly bigger roll, and then just roll the edge so that you've got this slightly bigger lip. Now that doesn't feel big enough to me, so I'm just going to get the long end like that and then roll that up. So it might not be a perfect roll, but that's going to be there for your neck. So just see if you can get yourself that kind of roll for your neck. Then you can come down onto the floor. So the neck is supported by the roll in the mat in the blanket, and then lift the seat bones up, and then just bring your lower back down onto the blanket. Now, if this onto the bolster, you can keep your knees bent like this. If the roll feels too strong for your neck, then just lift your head and just unroll it a little bit, and then just bring your head back down onto the floor. So you can either have your hands just resting on the floor, palms facing upwards, or you can have your arms resting over your head. But for that release in your shoulders, it's good to just have the hands resting on the floor to the side of the body. If the pose is uncomfortable, especially in your neck, then adjust the supports, adjust the position so that you can become comfortable. Because this method of yoga shouldn't be uncomfortable. It's not a test of endurance. We should be able to relax into the pose. So once we're in our pose, go back to the breath. Fill in the limbs with the inhalation. So remember, if this is not comfortable for your neck, just lift your head and feed the blanket out from underneath you a little so that the roll underneath your neck can be smaller or bigger, whichever you feel that it needs. Taking time to engage with the inhalation and release with the exhalation. In a moment, we're going to bring ourselves out of this supported back bending pose. So press the feet into the floor. Just lift your seat bones up and then slide the bolster out from underneath you. Just bring the seat bones back down onto the floor. So stay with the knees together, the feet apart for a moment. And then just draw your knees into your chest. Just have a little gentle rock on your spine for a moment. And then roll over onto your right side and then sit yourself up. So we're going to do a supported supine spinal twist. So just have the blanket for your head, and then if you've got a block or another blanket, you can have that for between your knees. I'll just show you. So you can come down onto the floor, and then you bend your knees, hold the block between your two knees, and then you just stretch your arms out in line with your shoulders. And then you're just going to gently roll your knees over to the right side. So the knees just stay bent. You can always put a little support underneath the outsides of the knees if they don't come down. And then just rest with your shoulders on the floor and then your head resting over to the side. So if I show you on the other side, if you feel that this is not comfortable for your back, then you can always put another block or a bolster underneath your knees just to give you that little bit of support. So you've got this lift. So even a cushion or a bolster, just go underneath the knees and then you just lay it along the floor. So we'll bring the knees to the right side first. So get the block between your knees, bring your knees over to the side. Keep your knees quite high up, so it's kind of a bit waist height. And then if need be, put a cushion underneath the outer knees. With your hands at shoulder height, and then let your head rest on the right side so that the chin is pointing in the same direction as your knees. And then release into the floor. So remember, you can have your knees either on the floor, the right knee on the floor, or supported with a cushion or a block or a bolster. Just continue to breathe evenly and deeply. Overflowing the inhalation so that you overflow the jug. Just keeping both shoulders down on the floor. Just letting the arms release. Just letting go of tension. Okay, just bring your knees back just to face up to the ceiling. Bring your head to face up to the ceiling. And then just bring your knees over to the other side. So keeping the knees bent, support in the outer thigh. If you need to, bring in your head so that it points in the same, so the chin points in the same direction as your knees. Again, just letting go into the floor, trying to let go of the possible tension of the legs. Just feeling how this pose helps you to release in your neck and in your shoulders, releasing tensions from the head. Just continuing to breathe until the lungs feel full and overflowing. Just letting go of tension in the legs. Keeping both shoulders on the floor. Just gives you space in the shoulders and in the neck. Relieving tension in the head. Just enjoying the freedom of deep inhalations, deep exhalations. And then when you're ready, just bring your knees back to face the ceiling. Let go of the block or the blanket between your knees. Just stay with your head looking directly upwards. Stay with the knees together, the feet apart for a moment, just resting into the floor. And then draw your knees in towards your chest and just have a little rock. And then roll onto your right side and then sit yourself up. So we're going to do a supported child's pose with a little ramped bolster. So get your blanket and just hold it so it's quite a big kind of long bolster like that, a blanket like that. And then again, just roll it over a little. And then this is going to just support the tops of your, sorry, wrong way around. This is going to support the tops of your feet. So your knees are going to go on the blanket and the tops of the toes are just going to kind of hang off the edge of the wall. You can't see that, can you? Because let me just move my camera so you can see what I'm doing. So we've got this kind of roll for our feet. So we're just going to sit back on our feet with the feet kind of hanging off the edge. Then you need a couple of blocks. So you need a couple of blocks. So one like that, and then one like that. And then get your bolster so it's on a ramp like this. Now it might not feel hugely secure, but it's, if you put the bolster between your knees and just have a little experiment, just maybe angle that bolster so that block so that it feels a little more secure. And then we're just going to come forwards and then just rest forwards. You might want to kind of draw the bolster a bit closer between your knees. Your knees might come off the end of your bolster. It's not a problem if it does. Just let your head rest on one side. Now, if it's uncomfortable in your neck, you might want some extra lifts underneath your elbows. So maybe a couple of additional blocks just to support your elbows if it's too strong for your neck. So just have your elbows nice and wide apart so you're not supporting your body weight. And then just rest forwards in your supported child's pose. If the bolster feels too far away, again, if you've got another blanket, you can just put it on top so that you've got a little extra height underneath you. Just resting your head on one side. And then in a little while, we're just going to swap around. Just close your eyes, just focus again on just filling your lungs evenly. And that feeling of almost overflowing the jug with your breath. So maintaining the focus on breath. Filling the lungs with just that good energy that surrounds us. Allowing that good energy to ingest into the blood. And then just lift your head and rest your head on the other side. And then just lift your head. Just push yourself up into the seated position. And then just move your equipment out of the way. And then we're going to do supported fish. So you want a bolster for underneath your knees. And then some kind, if you've got a second bolster, then have the second bolster for underneath your back. Now, if you haven't got a second bolster, have a bolster for underneath your back, and then roll up a blanket and just put it underneath your knees. You might want a little blanket, a folded blanket for your head, like so. And you might want something underneath your feet, so you can just use the blocks, or you can put just a couple of cushions underneath your feet. So you come down onto your lift. Make sure that your head and your neck are well supported. If this is uncomfortable in your lower back, then just you can put another blanket underneath the seat bones, or a block underneath the seat bones. So just lay yourself down on the floor. So you've got the blanket for your head, bolster underneath your back, a bolster or some cushions underneath your knees, and something to support your feet. And then rest yourself down. You're now supported Matsyendrasana, supported fish pose. Just continuing to breathe in so that the jug overflows. So that there is a sense that you're just connecting with a simple breath technique that brings energy into the body, into the skin. Just continuing to breathe evenly and deeply, overflowing the jug with the in-breath without creating any tension, just letting the diaphragm release with the out-breath. just going to bring ourselves out of this gentle pose. So wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, and then push your elbows into the floor and bring yourself up into a seated position. And stay where you are. Just remove the bolster from underneath your back. Just keep the bolster from underneath your knees and your feet. And then just come down on the floor. Have the long blanket from underneath your head, and maybe even roll up the end a little just so that there's some extra support for your neck, if that feels okay. And then just allow yourself to, just for the last couple of moments, just release back into the floor for our basic relaxation pose. Remember, just your equipment or yourself, if there's discomfort, just allow yourself to release into the floor. Filling yourself up with positive energy with the inhalation and releasing into the floor with the exhalation. So this gentle sequence of poses that works to ease out shoulder, neck and head pain. Brings energy and a feeling of energetic lightness to the body and some quiet alertness to the brain. Okay, when you're ready, just gently wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers. Bend your knees, bring your feet onto your bolster, just stay with the feet together, the knees apart for a moment. And then very gently roll onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg. Come back up into a seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in Namaste. Just a final spinal lift. Drawing your breath in through your nose, down into the abdomen. Conscious of the energy that you have generated within your own body. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send that positive energy out into the world. And then very gently release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel like you've given yourself some good energy, but also you kind of eased out any tension that you might have had in your neck. So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you.